For most of us, when you see the carnival huts around the Queen's Park Savannah, it signals carnival is in the air. For creative director Nicolas Huggins, the founder of Backyard Designs, the vending huts around the savannah is an iconic image. These huts are actually 3D printed resin that Nicolas designs and then hand paints each one himself. But the idea for this was brewing in his mind for almost 2 years before it got to this stage. Nicolas, who lives in Port of Spain and recently worked with Kes, is always creating. He says that as an artist, sometimes it takes some faith in your work to open the right door. Nicolas, who was stuck in England for 8 months, came back home in October with a fresh perspective. Through his work, Nicolas is hoping to inspire others to follow their dreams by showing that with the right mindset, a career in art can be achievable.
Number one employee, I aim to please, guaranteed. I fix and ready. Right there, well equipped, your structure, I'm climbing it.
All right, so we're here with Nicolas Huggins. We're going to share a little bit of something that he's doing, and the thing about it is that these look familiar, and I know it's registered in many of your minds. Yes, these are carnival huts, and 2021 has been a difficult year because of the pandemic, and I know Nicolas is doing something special here where he's actually bringing these little items that you can actually bring it home and bring carnival, that sense of feeling of who we are as a people as Trinidad and Tobago. So Nicolas, it's a pleasure to have you on InspireTT today.
Thank you, nice to be here.
Nicely. Tell me something. You are someone who has been, around in the art and graphical work as well, world as well. And tell me something. Where it all started.
Well, I have always loved art since I've been a little boy, and I did art straight up to Form 6 at St. Mary's College. Then I went to the Savannah College of Art and Design in Savannah, Georgia, in the U.S. And there I studied graphic design, and since then I've been working as a graphic designer, but I also dabble in the fine arts as well.
So tell me something, the concept of this, the average person would just sit down and think about, hey, let me just do this, and give me the backstory of this product.
So in my work, I'm always trying to think, what is the Caribbean aesthetic? What is the Trinidadian aesthetic? What is sort of innately a Trinidadian thing? And to me, Carnival, of course, there's nothing more Trinidadian than Carnival. So, and I kind of think that when you see these huts start going up around the savannah, around end of December, start of January, that is really a visual cue that Carnival is here. Yeah. So I love seeing them going up around the savannah. Somebody who lives in St. Anne's that drives around the savannah almost every day. This year I'm definitely missing it, and I'm missing that sort of pop of color that you get when you're around the corner there by Belmont and you're heading around the savannah. I miss that, so I said, you know what, let me see if I could make miniature models of these things to sort of bring back that nostalgia of Carnival in the year that we will be missing it.
So tell me what goes into this? People may think you're putting together wood and stuff. Explain what we actually see here in this raw state.
So these are actually resin, and they're 3D printed. I work with a guy named Louis Ramdani, who was one of my teachers at St. Mary's College. He has a company called Admit One Caribbean, and I basically sent him the design. He prints them, and then once I get them, they're fully gray, at which point I take my paints and my paintbrushes and I actually hand paint each one individually.
Well, a lot of people may think Nicolas is new, but tell us a bit about something that Trinidad and Tobago would have seen and known your work, and they may not know who you are.
So probably my most popular work in Trinidad right now would have been the album cover for Kes's live album, We Home. I also worked on the intros to both of his live shows that streamed on YouTube and streamed on Tigo. So that's probably where a lot of people would have seen my work. And this hut actually features on the single cover for Magic, which is Kes, Jimmy October, and ATN Charles.
Tell me what would have conceptualized the look and stuff like that.
So I actually thought of this like 2 years ago, and the reason I wanted to do them was so that when I was doing my drawings and doing paintings, I could actually have a miniature model that I could place at different angles, and then I could draw it at different angles without having to actually leave home and go to the savannah and sit down and do sketches. So that was kind of where the idea came from, to actually make the model. And then, of course, I guess the businessman inside of me was like, you know what, people might actually want to buy this as a piece of art, And needless to say, when I did post the image on to social media, the reception has been kind of overwhelming in terms of the amount of people who like them and the amount of people who it really triggers a sense of pride in terms of what Carnival is, and of course the fact that we're missing Carnival this year.
Correct. So tell me something. Many people would ask the question, why don't you try other items? Is this the start, or is this just are you thinking of other things in your mind at this moment?
Well, of course I'm thinking of other things at this point, seeing as the feedback has been so good. But I think for now I'm going to be sticking to the Carnival huts, and then eventually maybe you do some old-time houses, even Magnificent Seven. There's a host of ideas that you could explore with these models.
What would you say to upcoming artists? Because artists, to be an artist in Trinidad, artists in Trinidad, what happens is that we have this mindset that sometimes it's a gray area and it's not an area that we see much people being magnified. And what would you give, or words of encouragement you would give to people looking in and seeing that you actually have a career in this field?
I would say it's a lot of work that you have to put in. It's not something that you will attain success overnight. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And I think that once you just continue working and you try things, and a lot of things won't hit, a lot of things will hit. So something like this would have been years of me exploring with the aesthetic of Carnival and that kind of thing, including it in Kessa's artwork, including it in paintings and prints that I do. So it is a lot of trial and error, but something that I try to do and I try to sort of live by is just creating something every single day. And you might create 600 things over the course of 2 years, and maybe 10 things will hit, Even with the artwork for Kess, that just came about because I just did an illustration of him and I posted it on Instagram and he happened to see it. So they have these small sort of serendipitous moments that come about from just creating and creating and creating every single day.
So tell me something. When you look at what is happening with COVID-19 and the pandemic, we see many industries being affected, and the question is, how has this industry been affected from your perspective? Well,
for me, luckily, I work from home, and I've been working from home for the last 3 years. So in terms of my day-to-day, it hasn't really changed that much. I was actually stuck in England for 8 months. I got back to Trinidad in October. And so when you're stuck abroad, you always have those kind of thoughts of like what Trinidad means and that kind of thing. And so I really was able to be reflective in terms of what Trinidad is, and also too with COVID-19 and how it greatly affects your life in terms of not being able to be home for that length of time, being stuck outside of your home, right? So for me personally, in terms of COVID-19, it hasn't, in terms of work and in terms of my design practice, it hasn't really affected me greatly, just because my systems were already in place to sort of, I'm already working from home. The other creatives that I work with all work remotely from home as well. So all our systems were already in place to sort of completely handle what unexpectedly came up with COVID-19 last year.
So people would ask the question, where do we get these huts? Where do we get these models?
Right now I'm taking orders on just over Instagram. My Instagram page is Nicolas Huggins Creative. Really and truly, people have just been sending me DMs and sort of reaching out, and that's kind of how I've been doing it right now. It's still early days, so I'm still trying to see how the scalability of it is and that type of thing, which are all things you have to take into consideration when making any sort of art or anything.
Or would you see a bigger hut, or people asking for different dimensions, or is just...
Some people are asking for different colors, not so much the dimensions. I mean, it's such a classic design. You can't really... That's why I love it. It's such a classic design. It's very utilitarian. It is pretty much built for its purpose, right? Yeah, so I mean, no one's really asking for changes on the design, but people have been asking for different colors.
And what's the kind of response like you've been getting? People what they remember something that, like a certain color of heart, because these are actually similar design.
Yeah, these are kind of the traditional colors that are used. What I really like about the huts at Carnival time is it seems as though every year they take it down and they put them back up. It's sort of a mishmash of colors because perhaps there was one fully red one fully blue one, and then all of a sudden, 3 years down the road, it's completely mixed up and it's a mishmash of colors, right? So I mean, that's kind of what I enjoy about them, is sort of seeing how they come together after many years of use, you know. And also, too, the colors are very reflective also of the FET signs, which we see. And the FET signs are very horizontal blocks of color, which you see in this as well. So I think that kind of also speaks to this Trinidadian / Caribbean, Trinbagonian aesthetic. Yeah.
All right, Nicholas. So now we are going to move to the next stage where Michael's going to get his hands dirty.
Okay.
He's going to sit with Nicholas a bit and touch up a bit of these beautiful huts. I mean, I basically, when I saw this, Carnival immediately set in my mind, to be honest, Nicholas, and it kind of resonated to the time we are in with the pandemic, and it's something that we have to use our innovation, and I think this is actually innovation that we can reminisce on what it was, because one day we will have Carnival again. All right, so let's look out for Michael.
Baby, girl, wherever you are, whatever you do, stay the way that you are, wherever you go. Yeah, what you're contemplating now, to hold back at all. Listen to me. So free up yourself and just let go now. Girl, come off your phone, make your bam bam roll now. What you waiting for? People coming down from all over, just a tap to soak. Come a little closer, and I love you totally. Where you want me, you wait up, baby. When you rolling it.
All right, so as usual, Otto did the first part of the interview, and I'm doing the second half. Nicholas, I know we're going to paint one of the huts, so I'm going to attempt to paint one of the huts. But if you want to say you can't paint house, but you're going to paint hut. But that's a different conversation. Before we get into actual painting, I grew up, part of my life in Belmont, and I actually used to sell around the savannah.
Okay.
Polari around the savannah for a little while. And so just like yourself, around Carnival time, Carnival time is happening because we see the huts. And these are the vendors' huts, right?
Yeah.
I know you speak to Otto earlier on about your motivation behind actually doing this. And when I heard it, I was a little reminiscent to us as well, because we knew it was close to Carnival time. Once you see the huts building, Carnival time is approaching.
Of course.
And you need to get your space and you need to get in gear. One thing I appreciate is the fact that you said the same thing that I thought growing up, because I went to school in Tranquil, and we used to walk around the savannah to get back home. It's the fact that it's like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
So, and as you rightly said, one year you seen blue, one year you seen green, the next year you seen yellow, one year you seen red. And, and the motivation behind it. But what does it take? Because my daughter is also into the arts. What does it take for somebody to be able to be an accomplished artist in Trinidad, as somebody who is actually walking the talk, as they say?
People ask me this all the time. I mean, obviously, talent goes a certain way. But at the end of the day, nothing beats hard work. Mm-hmm. So no matter what, no matter how much skill you have, no matter anything, the bare essence of being successful, I think actually being successful in anything is putting in the work.
And we're here at InspireTT, we're trying to motivate youngsters out there to try and get into different alternatives, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic. We're realizing that even the traditional jobs are not as attractive as they are anymore. We're supposed to be able to be innovative and entrepreneurial mindset. You were saying that you're a successful businessman. What was it that how you say, get a gap between becoming a successful businessman and understanding the business behind your art and putting aside the artist? How do you marry both worlds?
So, in my day job, I'm a graphic designer. I run a small company called Backyard Design. We do branding, packaging design, that type of thing. And I'd say just in terms of being able to marry the business with the design, it's really all about not taking things personally, doing the work. And if someone says, no, I don't like this, that's not something you could take personally. That's just, you have to understand, you're just doing work for someone, and you're trying to give them the best representation of their brand or their product as possible. So
in the business aspect, you take the artist ego aside.
correct. It's just about
the client.
exactly. At the end of the day, you're creating something to represent someone else, which is one of the main differences between design and art. Design is about communication and being successful in communicating what a product or what a brand is, whereas art is really more an expression of self. So the art that I do is more an expression of me and an expression of what I like, whereas the design is more I'm trying to fulfill the needs of a client and what their brand is.
And this might be a strange question to ask, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What is your Carnival memory? What it is about Carnival that's attractive to you?
I mean, I'm very different. I think one of my favorite parts of Carnival is actually Carnival Monday, just because you could really enjoy the road. There's less people on the road, and of course, well, you study there with Juve, which that's one of the best parts of Carnival. And then you go home, you take a little nap, you eat some breakfast, you wake up. That to me is a lot more enjoyable, in my opinion, than the Carnival Tuesday, where it's a bit more jammed up on the road and it's not as easy to enjoy the sights and the scenes, I think, as it is on the Monday.
And the next strange question I'm going to ask again. How do you feel about the virtual space for Carnival? How is that how is that space for you? Because I know you were involved with Kes show recently.
Yeah.
What is that space like?
So right now I'm actually working with Kes and his team on something else for Carnival. I can't really speak too much on it, but it's called ISWE. And I mean, I'm extremely excited about it. And when they do announce exactly what it is, I think everyone will be excited about it. And I mean, you have all these guys who are really involved in Carnival that are pushing the whole virtual Carnival experience so much that, I mean, I am really looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing the innovation behind, basically, like they say, necessity is the mother of invention. So I'm looking forward to see what is invented this year due to the necessity of it being all online.
So as a true artist, myself, I studied film. I have a BA in film, so I'm also a kind of visual artist, but in film spectrum. So I got a little distracted. We're here to try and paint one of the huts. What should I do first?
So the first thing you're going to want to do is squeeze out some paint into the palette. Probably not too much. A little dot should do. The paint dries really fast, so I don't like to put too much and then it dries and you end up wasting paint. This is acrylic paint.
Acrylic paint. So
yeah.
Is that enough?
Yeah, that should be more than enough.
More than enough. I'll come quite here to waste the man paint. All right.
All right. So then we're gonna paint the shutters here, which is the window, and I usually use a smaller brush for this because it is a bit more of like a detailed area, and then they have these little grooves that you're gonna want to get the paint down into. So I'll hand it over to you, and no pressure.
Here's the funny thing, right? So I write with my left hand, but I function with my right hand. So when
Right.
you wanna actually get into work, the body figures out, all right, it's doing it better with your left hand and doing it better with your right hand. So forgive me if it comes out a little messy.
That's all right.
I think the word is ambidextrous, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. So are we starting on the edge or you?
Yeah, I would say just put dab the paintbrush in. Just a little bit is enough. Yep. And I usually start on the edge. So I would usually sort of, there's a little groove there that I would. Yeah.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Oh boy. Otto, you're making my hand shake. Otto went for the close-up, guys. Yeah. So I could put my signature on this after, no? Hot by Mike.
Hot by Mike.
No?
Listen, I want you to do what you do with it. Oh, gotta rock that body.
Yeah, I usually do the borders first and then I work my way in.
Okay. So there is a system to your art.
To some degree, yes.
What would be your words of advice for parents out there who could kind of use the art to channel kids in terms of their creativity?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're making something, you always feel very accomplished at the end of it, right? So for me, when I finish painting these and or if I finish an art piece, you always have that kind of sense of accomplishment. So I think that's always something that, especially for kids who might be interested in art, to sort of feel and get that feeling that they've actually made something or that they've created something, you know?
Okay. So have you always been involved in art?
Yeah, I mean, since primary school days, I think. I was lucky in that I had an interest, and it was really sort of egged on by my teachers from primary school straight up to secondary school. Obviously, going to art school from a Trinidadian perspective, a lot of people think, yeah, that might be a waste of time, become a doctor, become whatever. But at the end of the day, you need to enjoy what you're doing to become successful at it. So I think I will always tell parents to encourage their kids to do what they love, you know? And if what you love, you can make a living doing even better.
So you're always in a passionate state then?
Not always. I mean, I might go through a couple of weeks where like I just feel, I can't. But I try to allow myself time off when needed, because at the end of the day, my business does rely on me to be on and be creative. So if I go through a little period where I'm not feeling creative, I might just either try to work through it, or I will sort of take a break, work on something else. I've been trying recently, every Friday, I'll just work on passion projects. So actually this came about from that, where one Friday, I just decided this is something I want to work on, and then for the next few Fridays, I sort of was able to work on it a bit more to the point that it's gotten to now. So at the end of the day, you just need to make time to work on something that sort of inspires you or that brings out your creativity.
Is this a good distraction from the other art form that you work in?
For sure, because I'm on the computer all day designing, so it is nice to like get your hands dirty and really experiment with things in a 3D manner, you know?
And why 3D print? Why go the 3D print route and not actually try to construct it?
Really and truly, I was just looking for probably like the most efficient way to do it. And sort of in my research, I kind of decided, you know, 3D printing is a really sort of novel thing, and I thought it would be a cool way to make these.
So, is the next steps costumes for you, or what do you think could be the next step?
I'm not sure about costumes. I mean, I do love Carnival, and I am really interested in that side of it, but wherever it takes me, it takes me. I'm not really planning anything as of yet.
You're a really good painter. I mean, I don't know if I did a good job. I think my edge work needs some help, but I'll let you judge. You be the judge, Nicholas.
Yeah, I mean, nothing I can't fix later on.
So I'll get a B.
A B plus.
Room for improvement.
Room for improvement.
All right. How did you get this texture on the actual roof?
That was really just sort of experimenting with the paint, and I mean, I wanted it to sort of have that, really make it look like a true galvanized roof, you know? So I mean, the roof actually probably takes the longest, because that is where sort of more of the detail comes in.
And is there a big difference for you working in the physical art like this hot painting than designing on digital format? Is that the big difference for you? Yes
and no, because at the end of the day, you still need to make sure the colors work, the composition works, the size of this works, because obviously thought would have gone into how tall is it compared to wide, how deep is it, all that kind of thing. So there are the basic principles of design that you need to follow regardless of what you're creating.
And what would you call your style or your color palette? Because I notice you use a lot of fluorescent colors, you use a lot of bright colors.
Yeah, I mean, I am inspired by the colors of Trinidad and Tobago. So, I mean, you just drive around Trinidad and you see the kind of colors people paint their houses, or people even paint their cars, and that's not even taking into consideration the flora and fauna that occurs naturally. So, I mean, I love how colorful Trinidad is, especially compared to a lot of other countries, you know. So I would say I take my inspiration from the colors of Trinidad and Tobago.
And when you were away, I know you said the pandemic and you was in England, you're saying, right?
Yes, I was in England.
What was the first thing you wanted to do when you come back to Trinidad?
Well, unfortunately, I had to spend 2 weeks in quarantine. So the first thing I wanted to do really was honestly just get home and be within my own space, you know? Being out of your own space for 8 months is always tough, even to keep up the creativity and that kind of thing. So I think myself and my fiance Alex, we really just wanted to come back into our own space and sort of relax, you know.
And drive past that savannah again, see no huts.
And no huts this year.
What is that emotionally for you, not seeing any huts?
I mean, I include it so much in my work that I feel even now that I'm always surrounded by them, you know. So it is, because I go and I run the savannah maybe a few times a week, and the days I don't run, I might go for a walk. So it is a bit disheartening not to see it, but at the end of the day, the world has changed, so you have to understand what's happening, you know.
And is there anything else you'd like to add to our audience as we look to close the interview now?
I mean, I think for parents listening, if you have a child that is interested in the arts or anything, really let them explore it. And of course, I find what was always helpful for me is talking to older artists or older designers who are more accomplished and who have sort of walked on the path that I'm currently walking. So anyone who wants to be a designer, who wants to be an artist, reach out to other people. And I mean, for the most part, I've found that people have been really helpful. So I think that that's usually the best way to find a mentor or something and, you know, walk along that path eventually.
So the mentorship is very important. I'm glad that Nicolas said it. I mean, for us to go forward as a country, Trinidad and Tobago, and for us to understand our culture and to understand what we have, we need to have that mentorship. I mean, a lot of people are complaining that the youngsters are out of control, but if we're not mentoring the kids...
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's community over competition, so you need to sort of harness and look into the community to help you in whatever way you can, you know?
And with that, Nicolas, I want to say thank you for being here on
Not a problem, it's my pleasure.
It was a very interesting segment, I think. I'm not too sure if my shutters was up to standard, but that's a different conversation. I like how you end the interview. A lot of people have been asking us why InspireTT, why now? And Otto and myself, we just to give a little context to your audience who've been asking the question, we think it's very important for us who are, I'm not so young, but I'm not that old, for us in that space to be able to understand and to show that Trinidad is a nice place. We have a lot of rich culture. We have a lot of very innovative people in our society, and we wanted to highlight their stories. Most of the times, these positive stories are pushed behind for all the negative. We wanted to try and bring the unique stories that are out there in Trinidad. And you have a very unique story, Nicolas.
Thank you. And I mean, I think I speak for everyone in Trinidad when I say thanks to the two of you all for really pushing this narrative and trying to really inspire the people of the country, you know? It is something that's very much needed.
Needed at this time, yes. So if you like the content, please share it. Continue to like our videos. We're really trying to build a community here on InspireTT. It's very important to us too as well to get the content out there. You could go across to the InspireTT Facebook page and see some more videos, things that you may not have known was out there. You could see other stories too as well. Thank you for being here with us, Nicolas.
Thanks for having me.
It's been an interesting segment. Thank you guys. Thank you for continuing following us. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for sharing the video. We'll see you next time here on InspireTT. Michael Ramsingh, Otto behind the camera this time. Take care from us. Bye.
Show them that you're not lazy. Oh, lately, that body driving me crazy. Chimbody, now give it to nobody. Oh, chimbody, original them can photocopy. Oh.